Thank you to LSI. Thanks so much for having us and the incredible team here. We really appreciate your support. I'm Hillary Pierce, CEO of Total Flow Medical. We're based in Vancouver in Canada. And our mission, Total Flow Medical, is to reduce costs for hospitals and improve the quality of care for patients who need the use of a heart-lung machine. So a heart-lung machine replaces or supports the function of a patient's heart and lungs when they need life surgery or when they're on life surgery. Oh my goodness, during heart surgery or while on life support. It's a new term we've just coined here at LSI USA 25. So it's in this room that our story really began, with our perfusionist inventor who runs heart-lung machines every day. And really became distraught, upset seeing his patients injured by the care that's the equipment available to them. It's pretty clear when you can see the image, the perfusionist is in the top right corner, and they're responsible for keeping the patient alive, basically via the equipment sitting between them, which means that the care they can deliver is directly tied to the equipment and tools available to them. So going back to our inventor, really frustrated and pretty distraught at seeing his patients injured by the current standard of care, he came up with a solution. So the problem we're solving is caused by the current standard of care. When patients are hooked up to a heart-lung machine, cannula are inserted into the femoral vessels in order to transfer blood between the patient and the heart-lung machine and back. And these cannula can interrupt blood flow in the patient's limb. At a minimum, this can lead to reperfusion syndrome, which at a minimum means an extended hospital stay, but in the extreme, it can lead to amputation and even death. And it's about 30% of patients that have a pretty immediate drop in oxygenation in the limb below where the cannula is inserted. And clinicians can't consistently identify who's actually going to be affected by this problem. And to us, that means every patient could really use a solution. The second part of the problem is that right now, one of the only available options to either prevent or address this issue is called distal perfusion cannulation. So this is really a MacGyver technique where the surgeon takes a second device and inserts it directly into the femoral artery below where the cannula is inserted and splices it into the bypass circuit. So this requires a second device, more time, additional risk, and the thing is it doesn't even work in every case. And the hospitals are paying for this. So our solution will disrupt the current standard of care. It's been designed by clinicians. It's easy to use. There is no interruption in current clinical workflow. We have a standard cannula, which with the use of our patented features, provides a small amount of blood flow down to the limb. As accessories to existing procedures, our products are covered under existing DRG coding. And our first product for the US market will be a femoral arterial cannula for use in heart surgery. Since we've been here last year, I'm delighted to share that we've completed our GLP animal studies successfully. What we found is that our cannula provide 4 times more flow to the limb than the current on-market devices. We've also completed our usability human factors validation testing and have found that we had equivalent or better insertion and handling to current on-market devices. From over 100 conversations with clinicians globally, there's a clear need, a clear need for a solution to this issue. This is some of the feedback we had from our usability human factors testing and numerous surgeon interviews. Our first patients that we'll be serving will be patients that require minimally invasive cardiac surgery and robotic heart surgery. The market for just our first device and use case, so femoral arterial cannula for use in heart surgery, is about $34 million, and that increases to $100 million with the addition of our next planned indication, which would be for ECMO. We will partner with an existing distributor while continuing to build relationships with leaders in this space, none of which have a solution to this problem in the US, and we would offer a nice little tuck-in to their existing portfolios, and we know of at least 5 previous transactions in the cannula market. What's great is LivaNova has validated this unmet need. They launched the BiFlow, which is a single cannula, bidirectional cannula, and it has CE mark, but it's still not available in the United States. What's great is we've been able to hear feedback on that from clinicians, and some of that includes a concern over its must-use leg flow feature and its technically sort of challenging insertion technique. The team is in place for this. Together, we've brought multiple medical technologies from initial concept through to varying stages of commercialization. Martina Lockwood, our VP of Engineering, and I, we say we both bring over 15 years of lessons learned in developing cardiac and neuro devices. Amy DeVries Kramer has over 20 years experience marketing and sales in cannula specifically, and most recently, she was running the cardiac surgery advisory boards at Medtronic. Our board includes both Canadian and US-based expertise in fundraising, commercialization, and M&A, and our advisors include both successful entrepreneurs and clinicians. Margot Ortigas-Wedekind is the Chief Commercial Strategy Officer at Fogarty Innovation. Dr. Anson Chung, he is a past president of the International Society of Minimally Invasive Cardiac Surgery, so this is our first user group. And Brian Litch, he's a clinical perfusionist himself, and he founded and grew what is now the third largest perfusion distribution company in the United States. So a little bit about where we've been and where we're headed. In total, we've raised over $4.5 million in pre-seed, seed, and non-dilutive funding to date. We've had 3 FDA pre-sub meetings. And we've successfully completed our GLP animals, human factors, and frankly, most of our design verification testing that's required for our submission will be coming up very shortly. We anticipate closing a seed extension very soon in order to support us through 510(k) clearance, and in that time, we'll also be conducting a first-in-human study in Canada. And then our Series A, which will be opening shortly, later this year, will be to support post-market studies, as well as the rollout of the next indication, as I mentioned earlier, for ECMO. So in summary, we are solving a real unmet clinical need. We have a strong team in place, and there's very solid partners in this space as well. We've oversubscribed in all of our previous financings. And our Series A, which will be coming up shortly, will support commercialization of our first product and our portfolio expansion. We're on a mission to improve the quality of care and the quality of life for patients who need the use of a heart-lung machine. Please come chat if you would like to know more or to join us to save and support these patients' limbs in their lives as well. Thank you.